All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open one of the most influential books on strategy ever written, Sun Tzu's The Art of War. It's a text that's been studied for over 2,000 years, and you'll be surprised how relevant its lessons are even today. So let's kick things off with the one quote that really says it all. Right out of the gate, Sun Tzu hits us with a bombshell. This one line just perfectly sets the stage for a book that isn't really about brute force. It's about psychology, intelligence, and outthinking your opponent before a single move is even made. It's all a game of the mind. So who was this guy? Who was the mind behind these incredible ideas? Let's dig in and find out where this legendary text came from. Okay, so we're talking way back, like 5th century BCE. The Art of War is this compact military guide, almost like a handbook for generals. And it's attributed to this kind of mysterious figure we know as Sun Tzu. It's made up of 13 short, super dense chapters, and each one is basically a masterclass in strategy. Now, you might think a book with war in the title is all about, well, war. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, Sun Tzu's main idea is probably the last thing you'd expect. There it is. Yep, you heard that right. The highest form of victory, the absolute peak of skill, is to win without ever actually fighting. It's about being so smart, so prepared, that your opponent is basically beaten before the first punch is thrown. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one hand, you've got brute force. We're talking long, costly wars, a total drain on resources and lives. And on the other, you have Sun Tzu's way. It's smart, it's efficient, and it's all about getting that psychological edge. It's about winning smarter, not harder. So how do you pull that off? How do you actually get this victory without battle? Well, Sun Tzu gives us what I like to call a strategic toolkit. Let's open it up and see what's inside. So when you look at all these themes together, a pattern starts to emerge, right? None of this is really about having a bigger army or better swords. Every single one of these, from deception to psychology, it's all about controlling information. It's about controlling what your opponent thinks is happening. See, that's the real battlefield Sun Tzu wants you to master. Okay, let's zoom in on preparation for a second, because this is huge. For Sun Tzu, the actual fighting, that's just the final act. It's the physical proof of a battle that was already won or lost before it even started. The real victory, that happens in the planning, in the intelligence gathering, in getting yourself in the perfect position. Basically, if you're just winging it on the day of the fight, you've already lost. And here we are back at deception. This is probably one of his most famous ideas. It's all about controlling the story, Controlling what your opponent sees and believes. Appear weak when you're actually strong? Well, that lures them into a trap. Appear strong when you're actually weak? That might just scare them off from attacking at all. It is like pure psychological warfare. Okay, so this all leads to the big question, right? Why on earth are we still talking about a book that's like 2,500 years old? Well, it's because these ideas, they've jumped way outside the battlefield. I mean, sure, it's still a must-read at places like West Point, but the real genius here is how it made the jump from the battlefield to the boardroom. It's become a playbook for business, and it doesn't stop there. We see its influence in sports, in law, heck, even in just our day-to-day negotiations. And this is really the secret to using it today. Just think about it in business terms. Your competitors, they're like the opposing army. The market itself, that's the terrain. Knowing their weaknesses, knowing your strengths, and picking your moment, that is pure classic Sun Tzu. So after all this, from ancient China to modern Wall Street, what's the one big thing we should walk away with? And this is absolutely the bottom line. The Art of War, it's not a rule book. It's not a checklist. You can't just pull out a quote to sound tough or justify some aggressive move. No, its real power is that it changes how you think. It's like a new operating system for your brain, one that helps you approach any challenge strategically with a little more foresight and a lot more intelligence. And that really brings us to a final question. For you, in your own life, your career, maybe a tough conversation you need to have, what would victory without battle actually look like for you? What would it mean to out-prepare, outthink, and just out-maneuver the challenges you're facing? That is the timeless art of Sun Tzu.